Today is National Village Delray Reads Day, so this is our person. His name is Mr. Kevin Dorival. According to his bio, he is an author, mentor, inspirational speaker, and historian. Kevin Dorival is a passionate game charger while making a positive impact upon the world. The Trinity Broadcast Network, also known as TVN, some of your parents probably watch that, the Sun Sentinel and Hot 105 FM have featured Kevin for his work with the Urban League and Florida Juvenile Justice Department, as well as for his community productions and speaking engagements. Dynamic, engaging, and enlightening best described this not to be missed, multi-talented trailblazer for our times. So, Mr. Kevin Dorival, give him your undivided attention, you guys.
How you guys doing this morning?
Good.
Yeah? Did you eat breakfast?
Yes.
Yes? No? Who said no?
Emily.
You're not hungry?
I am hungry.
Oh, I had a great breakfast this morning. A lot of fruits. As you mentioned, Mrs.
Shepherd.
Mrs. Shepherd. My name is Kevin Dorival, and I travel. I go to different schools, churches, and organizations, sharing my story, inspirational story. What grade are you guys in?
Fifth.
Really? I have a very interesting story about myself when I was in the 5th grade. I have a teacher named Ms. White. 20 years ago. You guys don't know her. I'm from Pompano.
Oh, my cousin.
Pompano? Okay. I went to two elementaries. One Cypress Elementary, and the other was called Park Ridge Elementary. And Ms. White was a teacher that just changed my world. You know, I used to have a big stuttering problem. Anybody stutters in here a little bit?
No,
Are you used to stutter? You still stutter right now?
Yes.
You know how you get rid of that? By reading out loud. That helps a lot. I used to read to myself. You know when you're reading, just silent reading, when you're around people just because you don't want to interrupt them, but keep speaking it, keep talking out loud, it'll help you cure it, trust me. But Ms. White, she helped me gain my confidence. I never got the honor roll before. Anybody got the honor roll in here before? Almost everybody.
Every year.
Every year. Let me high five. I never got the honor roll until I reached the 5th grade, and I received the honor roll throughout the year. You know, I took my studying seriously. I started focusing on the future and not the current situation, because I grew up in a single-parent home, but my mom did everything. She was my mom and my dad. So I really wanted to give my mom honor by being successful and getting good grades. And that's how eventually I graduated school. I finished at Florida Atlantic University.
Woo.
Your alumni there?
FAU.
Yeah.
I went to FAU for college.
And that's what I ended up doing. And believe me, you can do anything you put your mind to. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't. All right? You're gonna have haters. You're gonna have naysayers. You're gonna have people trying to put negative seeds in your head that you can't do this, you can't do that because you don't have enough money, or you come from this family or this background. That's not true. So my mom came from Haiti back in 1978, 79. And I'm the first generation amongst my family, Haitian, to, first of all, graduate college, start a business, and write a book. I feel like Reading Rainbow right now. You guys ever watch Reading Rainbow? Do they still show that show?
Not really.
Not
you have
really?
to catch the old ones on United Streaming. So every now and then
Okay.
we'll play an old one from United Streaming.
Reading Rainbow was a show by LeVar Burton. You guys ever watched Roots before? You ever watched Roots?
Ooh.
All right, remember when Kunta Kinte was young?
Oh, yeah.
That's LeVar Burton. He had a show called Reading Rainbow. And what he'll do is he'll open up a book and share a story. But my book is called The Courage to Believe, which you can see. And I use the lion because the lion represents courage. I was very timid and shy growing up. Now I'm very confident. I can, take over the world almost. That's my kind of mindset. I believe anything that I want to do in life, I can. If, first of all, if I speak it, believe it, and execute the plan, you can achieve it too. But that's what I practice every day. So I want you guys to say after me, okay? Speak it.
Speak it.
Believe it.
Believe it.
And execute the plan.
And execute the plan.
Exactly. Now, every day I read this to myself. I didn't read this morning because I had to get up real early. This is my dream book. I call it the King Kevin Dream Book. No one has ever seen the contents of these dreams. I have about 55 dreams in here. Do you know why I wrote them down?
To achieve them.
Exactly. To execute the plan. That's why I speak it every day, because when you speak it, your ears hear it, and your eyes can start to see it. So it doesn't matter where you come from. It doesn't matter if you're in the ghetto. It doesn't matter if you grew up rich. It doesn't matter what kind of background you come from. Anything that you put your mind to, you can accomplish. Out of 55 of these goals, I have accomplished about 7 of them. And I still read them to myself, the ones that I accomplished, just so I can remind myself of the victories that I've been able to obtain by the grace of God. All right? Now, let's get to the story for today, which is the real McCoy. And whoever is paying attention, I'm going to give you a free DVD of my stage play, okay? If that's okay with Ms. Shepherd. So whoever, the most
Kid
interactive.
friendly?
Yes, excuse me?
Is it kid friendly?
Yes, actually
Where I
it
can
is.
actually show it to my class?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes, please do.
Okay.
Please do. Actually, what I did was with my book signing, I'm an internet marketing consultant. I help businesses gain more business to attract people that need the goods or services. I don't know if I'm explaining that good enough, but I know it's kind of difficult. But pretty much, that's what I do for a living. And my stage play, I had four different acts, 4 different scenes. 2 of the scenes where kids were, represents me and my brothers growing up in the hood. And then I have another scene of us in the classroom, just like this. It's like 6 desks, a teacher's desk as well. The teacher was Miss White, someone that played Miss White, young lady that played Miss White. And what we did was, have the kids act like they were studying. And I'm not going to tell you too much of the play, but, they were studying and things like that. And it was based off my life. They had 2 other scenes that we're going to get into once you watch the DVD. Now, The Real McCoy is by, who wrote this book? Will Clay. Well, the paintings are by Will Clay and it's written by Wendy Toyle. You guys ever heard this book?
No.
You ever heard that saying, The Real McCoy?
I've heard of it.
You've heard of it? A lot of people use that. And the real McCoy represents the real thing. Like, are you the real thing? Do you have the real thing? The originator. I never read the story, but I've heard about this individual all the time. The life of an African-American inventor. So this is going to be awesome. I'm glad he chose me for this book. Amen. All right, so let's see. We're going to start reading from the beginning. Elijah McCoy was born in Colchester, Ontario, Canada on May 2nd, 1844, to George and Emila McCoy, former slaves who had escaped from Kentucky via Underground Railroad. The McCoys made a dangerous journey to Canada in search of freedom and a new home. To support his growing family, Elijah's father, George McCoy, joined the Canadian Army and fought in the 1837 Rebel War. In return for his loyal service, he was given 160 acres of farmland. Wow. Elijah and his brothers and sisters were raised on this farm as free Canadian citizens. Why do you think this was very dangerous for the McCoys? Anyone answer that? Who raised their hand first? Go ahead.
I think it was dangerous because they had to travel all the way from Kentucky with the family under the Underground Railroad, and the father had to take a risk of fighting in the war, the Rebel War.
That's very smart. Yeah, you're right. That was a very dangerous trip, but freedom is worth it. I'll fight for my freedom. Now, good job. What's your name?
Tanaya.
Tanaya. Thank you, Tanaya. Educating their children was extremely important to Elijah's parents. The laws in the United States made it illegal for the slaves to learn how to read and write in their new country. The McCoys had high hopes for their children. They were property owners, and as a householder, George McCoy could vote and could send his children to public school. Elijah attended school for black children in Colchester, Ontario, where he learned to read and write. From a young age, Elijah was especially interested in the ways mechanical devices work. He looked, well, he liked to take machines apart and put them back together. Interesting. Now, I really like this part. Now, slaves always headed north. And I don't know why they went to Canada. Why you guys think they went to Canada and not anywhere else? That's a young man. Go ahead.
Because in the north they have more freedom.
More freedom. Good answer. Go ahead.
Because in Canada there probably won't be a lot of people that want them as slaves.
That's very true. Young man in the back. Better home? Oh yes, definitely. Good answer. Elijah's parents realized he had a special talent for working with tools and machines. They saved their money to send Elijah to school where he could study mechanical engineering and could also learn how to design his own inventions. That school was in Edinburgh, Scotland. In 1860, when he was only 16 years old, Elijah traveled 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean to study engineering in Scotland. Wow, that is very impressive. So he go from Kentucky to Canada, and now he's in Scotland studying to be an engineer. That's very impressive. And believe me, I'm not easily impressed, but this is good stuff. Now, while Elijah was studying abroad, the Civil War in America broke out. President Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation during the war. This was the first step toward freeing slaves in America. When the Civil War ended, Elijah could live anywhere in the United States as a free man. He finished his training in Scotland as a master mechanic and engineer and sailed to America. Elijah settled in Michigan, but he had a hard time finding work as an engineer. Many people still thought blacks as slaves. They had never even heard of an educated black person, not to mention a black engineer. The only job Elijah could find was a fireman or man for the Michigan Central Railroad. Wow. So how do you think Elijah, this is him leaving his parents, getting ready to go to Scotland, and now he's back in the United States, here at the railroad. Now, how do you feel? He just got educated to be an engineer. When you're an engineer, you make a lot of money. Engineers are the people that build airplanes and cars and trains, design houses, stuff like that. So this is him trying to find work. How do you think he felt that he just got educated but came back and couldn't find a job with all the education he got? Yes.
I think he felt disappointed because he went all the way to Scotland and left his parents to get educated in something he really wanted to do. Came back to the USA where Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, put up that Emancipation Proclamation for slaves to be free.
Right.
But the only work he got is to be oilman for firemen.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yes. Good answer.
I think he felt mad because he had traveled to Scotland to become an engineer, and that people still think of them as slaves.
As slaves, yeah, you're right. Good answer. In the late 1860s, there were no cars, buses, or planes. People traveled by train. By our standards today, it was a slow and expensive way to travel. The trains were pulled by engines that ran on steam produced from water heated in huge boilers located in the cab of the locomotive. The firemen shoveled coal onto fires burning inside the firebox at the back of the cab. Every hour he shoveled over 2 tons of coal, wow, scoop by scoop into the firebox. He had to work quickly. If the fires burnt out, the train would stop running. The fireman also had to monitor the level of the boiler water. If it was too low, pressure could build up and an explosion might occur. Elijah's job as a fireman was difficult and extremely dangerous. This is a picture of him working on the train, putting the coal inside the fire. Locomotives are like the engine for the trains, especially the old school trains. I don't know how to operate today. It's a very dangerous job. Elijah was also the oilman of the train. Parts of the train had to be oiled frequently so the train would run smoothly on the track. Every few miles, the train stopped. The oilman walked with the length of the train, oiled the axles, bearings, and other moving parts of each car. When the oilman finished lubricating the train parts, he raced back to the firebox in the cab to oversee the engine's needs. So this is what he was doing. And I guarantee he probably, just looking at this, he probably built a better train. Let's see. It's gonna be interesting. Let's use our imagination. All right, Elijah wanted to make his job more efficient. Several men had already made devices that lubricated the train mechanically, but Elijah felt he could improve on those inventions. He worked for 2 years on his idea. Finally, he perfected the dream of